Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 9th edition of the India Digital Summit. You know, it's very rare that you actually see several hundred people assembled in Delhi at 10 o'clock. And I guess it's good to see that this new generation of Indian entrepreneurs and leaders in the internet space are early risers. I guess in the internet, nothing ever stops, so for most of you probably haven't slept in years. So welcome everyone, and delighted to see all of you here. We've got a very exciting agenda planned over the next 2 days, and I'm hoping that most of you, if not all of you, will get an opportunity to be around over the next 2 days. I'm just going to open with a couple of thoughts, and then we'll get going with the proceedings. The Minister of Telecommunications and Information Technology, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad, will join us. He's our chief guest. He'll be here over the next 15 or 20 minutes, and as soon as he comes, we'll have him give the address. At these events like these, normally we actually wait for the chief guest to show up, but as many of you know, the internet simply does not wait. So we decided just to get going. As all of you know, 2014 was a year in which we saw unprecedented growth in the digital industry in India. Every aspect of the ecosystem is now experiencing hyper growth. At the end of December 2014, which was just only a few weeks ago, India crossed 300 million internet users. And as we speak, the country is adding over 5 million internet users every month. Social crossed 100 million users. Smartphones, which were virtually non-existent 4 years ago in India, crossed 100 million users. E-commerce, which was clearly non-existent 5 years ago, ended the year with over 25,000 crores of revenues. If you add up all the product e-commerce companies, the combined revenue of those companies was over 25,000 crores. India, which had no billion-dollar e-commerce companies, in fact, we didn't have a single $100 million e-commerce company 3 years ago, today has 3 e-commerce companies with over $1 billion of revenue each. And we saw a 10-fold increase in venture funding that went into internet companies last year. That's a 10x increase in 2014 compared to 2013. And finally, we have a new government in place that has a few very significant priorities, and we're extraordinarily excited that Digital India is one of the main pillars or the main priorities of the new government. So 2014 was clearly a very, very good year for the Indian internet industry. Clearly, one of the most exciting aspects of 2014 has been the explosive growth in internet and mobile startups. 6 years ago, India had no billion-dollar valuation Indian internet companies. As we end 2014 and begin 2015, we have $7 billion valuation Indian internet companies. That is quite remarkable if you think about it, because there are actually only 3 countries in the world that have more than $5 billion internet companies that came from those countries. US, not surprisingly, China, and now India. No other country actually has over $5 billion indigenous Indian internet companies. 3 of these companies are public. We all know them and love them. InfoEdge, Make My Trip, and Just Dial. And 4 are still private. InMobi, Flipkart, Snapdeal, and as recently as a few weeks ago, as many of you know, Paytm. 2 years ago, at a similar forum, I had projected that every year India will have at least 1 new billion-dollar valuation internet company. I was proved wrong. I also projected that by 2020, we would have 10 to 12 Indian internet companies that would be worth over $1 billion. Clearly, I will be wrong, because we will have well more than $12 billion valuation internet companies by the year 2020. As many of you know, barely 2 weeks ago, Paytm joined this new camp of billion-dollar internet companies with its most recent round of funding. But what's exciting is not just what's happening with these large valuations, with this hyper growth, with this billions of GMV that's being driven by a few of the large Indian internet companies, but also what we are seeing in the true early stage startup ecosystem. In the year 2012, there were less than 200 internet startups funded every year. In 2014, that number was 800. There were 800 new internet startups in India that actually got some level of funding. Could be seed, could be angel, could be Series A, Series B. That's a 4x growth in the number of companies that were started and funded over a period of 2 years. All this being said, we are still at the beginning. If you think about our journey with the internet in India as a test series, all of us play cricket, or we love cricket, or we played cricket at some point in time. You think about the journey of the internet in India as a series, a test series. As I've mentioned many times, we are still in the first match of the series, the first test, in the first day of the test. We've embarked on some research with BCG that we're very excited about to look at what might happen over the next 5 years in India with the internet. And Alpesh, who leads BCG's tech practice and a senior partner at BCG, will walk us through those findings. In many ways, what we've seen is really the trailer to the movie. And the movie that will launch soon is going to be massively, massively exciting. The agenda for this year's summit is Digital India. Over the next 2 days, we would like to focus on how to execute this agenda. The exciting part about India is now we're on the map. With this new government, we have a Digital India agenda. And now the question really is, how do we go from an idea to a launch to scaling out execution? Fortunately, we're already the fastest growing large internet market in the world. So the opportunity really is not about getting onto the growth bandwagon. The opportunity before us is how to accelerate this bullet train that we're on, and how do we really go much faster. Last year, as all of you would remember, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed us at this very summit, and he shared his dream of Digital India. He highlighted the following aspects of his dream for Digital India. Promotion of digital entrepreneurship. That actually is going quite well. We just want to make sure we continue that way. We continue to foster an environment that is great for entrepreneurship. Access and information superhighways. The good news is we have 300 million internet users. The bad news is we also have the world's largest narrowband nation. 200 million of the 300 million internet users access the internet on a mobile device. But only 60 million out of that 200 million even have a 3G connection. So clearly building the broadband highways, creating a broadband nation is a huge priority. Smart governance. I think we'll start seeing lots of interesting things happen on this front. And finally, new laws to deal with new technology. Over the last several months, we've seen several disruptions in some parts of our sector that have been caused by either confusion or the lack of regulation or the lack of laws, or really the inadequacy of laws for what's about to come and all these opportunities that the internet will bring to us. Over the next 2 days, we will hear from several leaders from the government. We're going to start with the Honorable Minister of our industry. But we also have many other speakers from the government who are driving various aspects of the Digital India initiative. I hope all of you will engage in those dialogues. We'll also hear from the founders and the CEOs of just about every single internet company in India, both our Indian startups that we have from here, as well as all the multinational companies that are here. And finally, we'll actually hear from CEOs and CXOs from industries that we work with closely, whether it's the consumer packaged goods industry, whether it's the telecommunications industry, whether it's the auto industry, and so on and so forth. And I find personally some of those are the most interesting discussions, because sometimes we get caught up in our own world, and it's always helpful to actually hear the perspectives of key decision makers from outside our industry on what it is that we can actually do better. Beyond this summit, we are working on continuing to focus on scaling the internet in India as the Internet and Mobile Association. We've got several priorities. I won't go into all of them today, but two that I want to leave with you, I think are going to be among two of the most important things that we're going to work on as an industry to continue to build the internet. The first is around building the Indian language internet. Only 200 million Indians are proficient in English, as all of you know. Every single user that's coming onto the internet as we speak is not proficient in English. The internet as we know it today is not very useful to them. On the one hand, they can't access the internet. Keyboards don't work as well. Speech recognition sort of works in Hindi now, but if you go outside of Hindi, you can't really access the internet through speech. And even if you can figure out a way to get on the internet, 5 million Indians are figuring out a way to get on the internet. Once they get on, there is not enough content. All of us know these issues. So as an industry forum, we're really focusing on this topic of how do we create the Indian language internet. The other big initiative that you'll hear a lot more about over the coming months is around how we can accelerate the mobile app ecosystem. We've set a goal as IAMAI to make India the global superpower when it comes to global apps. We're all about the mobile internet now, and the mobile internet is all about apps. India has 3 million engineers, software engineers. We have 3 million software engineers. But only 1 out of the top 100 apps on Google Play is from India, and it's a ripoff of a Brazilian game. Less than 1% of the top 1,000 apps on Google Play are from India, and none of them are even original apps. So despite having the world's 3rd largest user base, soon to become the 2nd, despite having 3 million software engineers, we still are not on the map when it comes to mobile apps. So we as an industry will be launching an initiative that you'll hear a lot more about over the next 2 months around how to make India really the world's best at mobile apps. We've got a whole set of initiatives planned as an industry, and I hope that, I know some of you are very deeply engaged in them. What I'd like to end with is to say, we'd like to get all of you involved in IAMAI at a very deep level so that we can address both the most significant challenges that we have as an industry, and we have a whole set of them, but also to capture the opportunities. As we go forward, clearly, the 2 things that we need to do as an industry: 1, we need to go faster, scale, speed, and execution. We need to think bigger, we need to dream bigger, but we also need to execute faster, both within our own companies as well as across sectors. It's amazing to see, we took about 20 senior leaders from the industry to China a couple of months ago from India. We spent a week in China, in Beijing and Shanghai. The one thing that we all walked away with is, wow, we need to think bigger. We just need to think much, much bigger. We need to go faster. And the other one is we want to make sure that the internet continues to be free. As many of you know, as an industry, our stance on net neutrality is very clear. We want to be neutral. We want it to be free. And I think it's the onus upon all of us to make sure that the internet continues to be free. Thank you very much for joining us today. And now I'm going to hand it over to Alpesh, who will walk us through the research that BCG has done together with the Internet and Mobile Association of what the future will hold for the internet in India. Thank you very much, and let's welcome Alpesh.
Good morning again, and let me just take off from where Rajan ended. Digital is one of the biggest, if not the biggest trend which is impacting our lives. And I think all of you are well aware of it. So it's actually difficult to add elements to what this is going to do in the future. And crystal ball gazing is always challenging. As Rajan said, when he predicted the number of billion-dollar companies, he underestimated, and he got that possibly wrong. I think we run the same risk. So the research that we've done, with all humility, I will say we might run the same risk of underestimating what's going to happen. And the reason for that is this saying which has been made very famous by Bill Gates, which says that in the short term, you always overestimate what technology is going to do. But in the long run, we usually underestimate it. Digital is really big. It's changing everything around us and within us. If I look at a big number, 500 million, half a billion, If 5 years back somebody had told you India would have 500 million internet users, most of us would have laughed. This is now a reality. 2018, India will have more than 500 million users of the internet. And this has grown at such an exponential pace, it is not even funny. The internet, as is known, started in India around 91, 92. It took 20 years, and I repeat, 20 years to get the first 100 million users online. 2 to 3 for the next 100, 1.5 for the third one. It will take the same 1.5 for the next 200. You're going to have 500 million people in India online. And the beauty of it is this growth is completely inclusive. We will reach all of India. What do I mean by that? If somebody had asked the question a few years back, who is an internet user? The answer was young, metro, male, right? English speaking. And all of that was unfortunately true. But as we fast forward, what we tried to do was look at the first 100 million up to 2011 and take the next or the last 100 million that will come on in 2017, 2018. How different is this segment going to be? And it is quite remarkable. This segment is going to be older, significantly older, is going to be a lot more rural, a lot more women, interestingly a lot more mobile. So if you take the first 100 million, the internet, again as it was always envisaged, was always on computers. With the 100 million smartphones already in the country and expected to be 500 million again by 2018, if you fast forward, the internet, at least in India, as with other developing markets, is going to be on the mobile. If you look at the fifth 100 million consumers, we estimate that 100% of them will use the mobile, and at least 60% of them will actually only access the internet on the mobile. They will have no other devices. And lastly, it's going to be vernacular. Right? A large number of people entering, as Rajan just said a few minutes back, more than 75% of the people entering the internet today would prefer vernacular. So this is India. And so the internet and its penetration is no longer a niche story. This is now as India as it gets. The big impact of this is I thought I would throw out another large number. The internet economy is going to be as large as 10 lakh crore by 2018, nearly 5% of the GDP. Right? We've tried to do this bottom up, looking at the different sectors, whether it's e-commerce, products, services, advertisements coming out of that, equipment behind that. We've actually done this whole analysis bottom up. And India is going to end up having an internet economy of 10 lakh crore in the next 3 to 4 years. This is not the future, this is here and now. And what's even more exciting is it's not only about the numbers, it's not only about 10 lakh crores, it's not only about the economy. The social benefits are just out of this world. You can now walk into villages in Gujarat and you can actually see a professor in Alabama teaching them. Right? That's the power of the internet. You're going to have a very different educated country. Safety. So many of you have seen the multiple apps that are now available with you, etc., which enhance safety for all of us. Health. Multiple examples of telemedicine, teleclinics, and I will highlight a few, but again, just enhancing health and taking health services to the entire country. Governance. If you look at the number of messages that did the rounds, even in the last assembly election in April, May 14, it is humongous. You're talking of tens of millions of people who were on Facebook, on other social media, exchanging messages. And lastly, we estimate that there are going to be nearly 2 million jobs directly created through the explosion of the internet. The indirect benefits of which would be in multiples. And as I said, it is actually just changing life. What we did was we actually looked at what human beings do, take a typical year of a family, and we actually clubbed everything that you could do in 5 or 6 buckets, right? You can learn or inform yourself, spend money, save money, work, connect, play, entertain yourself, or health and so on, and which was all under the bucket of bettering the world. What is interesting is each of these dimensions and every aspect of life is continuously, as we speak, getting transformed with digital. And the changes are manifold. So each industry as it's evolving, or each sector, is actually going one step at a time. And we actually club this into 4 steps. So let me just take a few examples in this. The first one is technology, digital, internet, helps us inform or improve our understanding of any space that we look at. So to give you very mundane examples as a user, I want to go watch a movie tomorrow. I want to know where, what movies are playing and are the tickets available. Plain and simple, just information. But technology or digital or the internet has the power to empower me with information. It just makes my decision making faster. It makes my life more efficient. If tickets are not available, I will not land up. So that's just inform, improve, and you can look at it. Multiple sub-segments of the industry have started going through that. Once you go through that, you go to the second step, which is saying, can I actually replace the physical world? Which is, why do I need to go and buy a physical ticket? Can I just buy a ticket online? The answer again is yes. If you actually look at buying a movie ticket, again, I could buy it online now. Right? So that's the second part, which is I can replace the physical world. So that's still just replacing what was happening. What makes it more exciting is then the third step, which says beyond replacing the physical world, I can actually now reach out to a segment that I could not reach out earlier without technology, and vice versa. So for example, if you are in a tier 5, tier 6 town and you want to buy a pair of Nikes, you can actually do that now. The physical infrastructure had not reached out as far, but the digital infrastructure is forcing us to make sure we can deliver a pair of Nikes to a small town in Kerala. Which then says I can start taking services out to a larger number of people. And lastly, not only can you reach out, but you can actually transform lives. Right? And multiple examples of that, but taking one of them, there's this offering called Apno Rajasthan, right? An interesting play at saying, can I actually take the artifacts of Rajasthan, the cultural offerings that it has, put it online and take it to a larger customer set, both in India but also globally, which is providing employment to a large number of people and artisans in Rajasthan. So these are just examples of the improvement that is possible through the internet. Like I said, step 1, inform and improve all our lives. 2, replace what we are doing in the physical world. 3, even better, expand the art of the possible and reach out to a large number of customers. And 4, actually improve and better the world. And as I said, I was taking examples of you and me, but if I look beyond, the upsides are brilliant. So take, for example, what the Piramal group has done with e-Swasthya. In many villages in Rajasthan, they've actually identified literate women who become the Piramal Swasthya Sahayika. What's their job? They actually become a teleclinic. They have a first aid kit in their house. They have access to paramedics who are sitting. So for every 8-10 villages, there's a paramedic. And then for every paramedic, the paramedic is on the call center. And for every 10 paramedics, there's a doctor. And you actually make sure that primary health care is actually offered to people in the villages where it was not offered earlier. And that's an example of bettering the world. So as you look at all of this, it starts creating change. And all of this is transforming how all of us work. It's transforming behaviors of every individual. So simplistically, I actually divided all the human beings into 3 categories. Let's take all Indians, 3 categories. All of us, if I rewind 10 years before technology took over traditionals, there are the digital natives, people like my daughter, born in the digital world, very comfortable with technology. And then there are people like me, the digital migrants, people who are gradually migrating into technology. This is just, assume there were 100 people or 100 billion people in India. This is where India is today. This is the journey it's going to undertake. The question is, how can we accelerate this journey? Right? Everybody, and I repeat, everybody is going to become a digital native. We will migrate from being a traditional to being a digital migrant to then becoming a digital native. The question is, how can we as a country and an industry accelerate this? Because this has large benefit for the country. 5 challenges that need to be addressed. All of you are well aware of this, so I will not go into details on this, but obviously first, access. So, at the beginning, Rajan spoke about the fact that most of our internet access is still narrowband. It was actually quite sad. There have been enough researches done which show that India still has the lowest speeds of anywhere in the world. And hence, how do we accelerate the reach of broadband to all our internet users? Obviously, facilitating payments and regulations, I will take both together, which is how do we keep pace with the changing world? Because there are many elements which have not been envisaged earlier. How do we make sure we have enough payment mechanisms, digital transactions become easier? Because the idea is convenience for customers. Obviously, governance. And lastly, how do we enable the entrepreneurial nature that this industry requires? We have come a long way. We want to move faster on this dimension. And hence, I will just end with one thought which says, the time to act is now. We've actually been moving rapidly. We need to move even faster. And hence, for that, I would actually like to end with a very wise saying from somebody who I have a lot of respect for. He said, in any given situation, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is the wrong thing. But what's interesting is the worst thing you can do is do nothing. And so I will end with that. We need to act rapidly to continue on this spectacular journey that the industry is on and make sure that, as a country, India benefits from this big megatrend digital, which is actually overtaking all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Alpesh. Hope all of you got a lot of insight out of that research. 300 million to 500 million internet users by 2018, a $200 billion internet ecosystem, and the internet has the potential to be 5% of India's GDP. So I think that's a very exciting future ahead of us. Now it's my great pleasure to invite our chief guest, the Honorable Union Minister of Communications and Information Technology, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad. As all of you know, Minister Prasad is our minister. We were just telling him about the Internet and Mobile Association and who's a part of it and what our charter is. Thank you very much, Minister, for joining us. We know in this first year of all of you being in office, it's been a very, very hectic year. I opened up the conference, Minister, by sharing how excited the industry is as a whole about the Digital India initiative that you and your team have embarked on. And we look forward to seeing how we can partner with the government, with the ministry, on accelerating the many exciting initiatives that you have launched. So thank you very much for joining us, Minister. And let's give the Honorable Minister a big round of applause and welcome on the stage.
Mr. Anandan, Mr. Alpesh, Shah, Reddy, young friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very hectic life we are maintaining. Yesterday I came from Kerala after inaugurating the first national optical fiber linked Idukki district in Kerala. And it was a moment of great satisfaction for me that 53 Gram Panchayats of that district, all have been linked. And a moment of great satisfaction, personal, was when a Malgudi tribal Gram Panchayat, which has no road for 18 kilometers all till their headquarters, we could reach even there and could talk to the tribal chief of that area. That is what the power of technology is. Let me share with you some of my general observations, some of the initiatives which we have taken, and how we need to work together. In my last trip to Kerala in Cochin, I had gone to visit the startup village. In Cochin, a young girl, Anamika, came to meet me with her parents. She was very keen to meet me when she learned that I'm in Cochin. I asked why you were keen to meet me. She's just a little girl. She said she always watched me on Times Now and ignores cartoon show even for that. I know Arnav is popular, Times Now is popular, but some of the Times Now shows are also equal to cartoon shows. That's a different matter altogether. But this is not to say that Arnav is indeed one of the foremost anchors of India. It's a different matter that anchors speak less at times and allow the panelists to speak more, but that is a different chapter altogether. I was very impressed to meet that young girl. I hugged her. I said, let me have a photograph with her, and her father clicked. And I particularly asked him to send it quickly so that I will place it on my Facebook. I put it on my Facebook with the reason as to why I'm putting it there. My young friends, within 4 or 5 days, I received 10,60,000 likes on that particular entry. The highest ever on my Facebook. When Mark Zuckerberg came to meet me, I asked him, what is your age? He said, I'm 19. I'm 30. When you founded the Facebook, when I was 19. I also shared my meeting on my page with the founder of Facebook. And within a day, I could get a hit of 7 lakhs. Now, my meeting with an innocent young girl can attract 10,60,000 sharing, more than 45,000 comments and likes. What does it indicate of the changing profile of India? That I would like to share. And the second is all the more unique. One of my professional colleagues, when I used to practice in the Supreme Court of India, hails from the state of Madhya Pradesh. She has a liking for food grain of her own state because of Narmada irrigation. It has a different taste, whether it is a wheat or rice or pulse. So she had arranged with her own village grocery shop dealer to get it delivered to Delhi. One day she was amazed to find her not very digitally literate grocery shop dealer sending her a message on WhatsApp. Madam, this is the quantity I have booked by this train. Wagon number is this. It will reach Nizamuddin East on this day on platform number this. These are the quantity, and this is my receipt photocopy on the WhatsApp, and this is my bank account number. Kindly mail back the money. She was amazed. No one taught him, but he could realize that if I have to become business friendly, technology is the answer. Well, my young friends, we have always felt, yes, I used to play with this bird called social media, but I was not that proficient as my Prime Minister is. But after I became the minister, and with my habit of going deeper into the matter, I realized it is a game changer exercise. We need to use it. And from there emerged this concept of digital India. The Prime Minister's mission and vision is very clear. And some of the ideas which he expresses in his own inimitable style, IT plus IT is equal to IT. What does it mean? India's talent plus information technology is equal to India tomorrow. And when he says that, he has a meaning of that. The second is 3D, democracy, demography and demand. 65% of India are young, exciting. And the third is 3S, speed, scale and skill. If you want to deliver, make the India fully skilled, deliver it on a bigger scale and with speed. And I think all this vision is very much available in the expansion of internet. We have got 900 million mobile phones in India. Urban penetration is 145%. We need to do a lot as far as rural is concerned. It is hovering on 44%. Good landline base. The smartphones have the biggest consumption in India after USA. I'm happy, whatever little I heard about your report, that the projection is of 550 million internet user by 2018, Anandan? Yeah. And maybe mobile internet user is further going to grow. Today it hovers on 60%, I suppose, if I'm not wrong. What is your projection for coming years? Mobile internet user?
All the growth is mobile.
Mobile.
All of it.
Now, this being the scenario, how do we use it? Again, let me come with a hilarious example of how Indians use technology, abuse technology and ape technology. Rajan Sharma of the Aapki Adalat, the famous India TV program, one day called me to grill me as they do by public. After my interview was over, we were having lunch together. And then he came with a very hilarious experience I would like to share with you, because most of you are internet users, promoters, operators, dealers, whatever way you like to know it. He said when he used to return to his residence in Greater Kailash from his studio around 10 o'clock every night or 11 o'clock, he found his servant sitting on a pillion on a static motorcycle before a particular house, away from his house, 3-4 houses. On the third day he asked his wife, "Ye yahi kyun baithta hai, kya baat hai?" And he used to play with his smartphones. His wife said, very simple, the Wi-Fi connection in the front of the house is the best there. He uses the phone and watches Brazil World Cup football. Oh, no one taught him. But he could know that this is a Wi-Fi location. I can use it and see World Cup. This is India. And I'm very clear, this India wants an enabling platform through digital connectivity to grow further. I'm very clear they only want an enabling atmosphere. Digital India is a program which has born out of there. Yes, rural penetration has been slow. Just you talked about the low broadband penetration. Yes, it is a fact. We can't push it away. Therefore, this National Optical Fiber Network program to link 250,000 gram panchayats within a defined time frame of 3 years plus has been conceived. And it is a game-changing exercise, ladies and gentlemen. We laid down 10 lakh kilometers of optical fiber connectivity in the last 30 years. We want to add 7 lakh kilometers in 3 years plus time. It's a big exercise. And what is the vision? 250,000 gram panchayats linked, one Wi-Fi connection at a public spot, in one school, in one primary health center, this government user network from the block headquarters to the village, e-education, e-health, e-commerce, all are exploding to come on the horizon once this network is complete. I am very clear that you create the enabling atmosphere and the players are bound to come. And that is my appeal to all of you. Once this enabling atmosphere with high speed band is there, a lot of replication, a lot of commercial models, a lot of initiatives are bound to occur as a consequence. That's how I wish the whole scenario. And the way two initiatives have exploded in India. One is the mobile. I was a minister in the Bajpayee government and information and broadcasting. I was a part of the 2003 minister decision to further facilitate mobile technology in India. That is one example. The second is the cable television connectivity in India. We have got nearly 600 plus television channels in the sky of India. We have got more than 245 24/7 news channels in India in various languages. Some talking sense, some talking nonsense. That's a different matter altogether. But they are there and they are good for the country, for education, for enlightenment, for empowerment, for information. And I quite appreciate their performance regardless of certain scope for improvement. Now, when this cable was expanding, a lot of good entrepreneurs and some street smart fellows joined the race. I said, allow them to work. इसमें कुछ अच्छा निकल जाएगा. So used to be a lot of competition and a lot of discord between the broadcasters and between the MSOs and between the cable operators. I was keen to ensure digitization in 2003 for itself. There was a lot of opposition. We went out of power. This government could not take the initiative. Now it is coming because of market forces. But what is a matter of great assurance for me, ladies and gentlemen? Once they learned that government is pushing Digital India initiative in a big way, they are themselves leveraging technology as to how can we supply broadband through cable network. And I was very pleased to find that there is a cable operator operating in Aligarh, in Hathras, in Vrindavan, in Mathura, using that technology with the infusion of foreign equity. A lot of foreign players are interested. If India is expanding, can we live with that technology? That's good. Good competition. This whole Tata Sky platform was created when I was the INB minister, direct to home, as a counterpoise to cable. Good, they are doing very well, I'm happy. But what amazed me one day when I was flipping through the news, I found an advertisement on Tata Sky. If you want broadband connectivity, come to us. Wonderful. What is wrong with that? A lot of players are coming in the field because Digital India is going to change the entire digital architecture of India. And that is where I would like the involvement of all of you. It has three components: creation of digital architecture for delivery of services. Number two, digital literacy for the people of India. And number three, digital empowerment of India. And there are a whole range of other allied activities which I need not deal with here. Now, we are promoting all of them. Let me take very briefly on digital literacy. It is very important, Anandan, and you being from the Google need to take note of it. It is very important that if you have succeeded in a big way, digital literature must be available in local content. And I am very clear, Internet is one of the finest creation of human mind. It is a global property. It is not the property of any one country. Maybe America has taken the lead. I appreciate their initiative. But now it is a global property of global connectivity. And this global property of global connectivity would never succeed unless the global is linked to the local. That's my very clear understanding of the operation of internet. And my department is very clear that digital literacy must be available. We have conceived a program of 10 hours, 20 hours, 2 hours to make poor people underprivileged. And ladies and gentlemen, as far as my government is concerned, we are very clear. Digital India is more for the poor, underprivileged, less for the privileged. Because the moment a country is digitally connected, the GDP grows as a consequence. That's what we are looking at. That's one thing I would like to say. The second is, once local content is available in local languages, we can work as a partner to ensure electronic delivery of services by sensitizing the state governments. Some state governments are doing quite well. Others need to follow. I always say, let me give you a simple example. If there is a rickshaw puller under the BPO category in, say, Chhattisgarh, if he wants to shift to Delhi for certain family reasons or to earn well, why should he have a separate BPL card in Delhi again? Why can't his BPL card be pushed digitally through a digital locker or a cloud to be used in Delhi as well? The Chhattisgarh governments of the public delivery system has been held world over. How can we electronically, digitally replicate that to other states as a model? And where we can partner in, you all can partner in. The second issue I would like to highlight. Whole range of other things. Why should young people always keep on moving with their educational qualification? Why can't university place it digitally? Available. At a click of a button, my entire record is available. One day my daughter asked me, Dad, where is your school certificate? And I said, I don't recall. BA Honors, MA, Law. I don't know. It's time. Everything should be digitally available. The third issue is education and health, and I am very happy to note whenever I travel in the country, and I travel a lot of new initiatives are being taken by professional bodies, like corporate houses, by NGOs. How can we leverage those initiatives in the field of internet spread and make it a movement for the country? And it is my appeal to you, Anandan, here, to all you friends. Share those experiences. Make a good model of it and suggest to the government how can that model be replicated at the national level to make it more accessible and available. That is one very important appeal I have to make to all of you. The third issue which my government is in the process of finalizing the guidelines. Whenever I see the digital profile of India, the IT profile of India, it is quite skewed. Delhi, Noida, Gurgaon, Pune, Mumbai, a sampling in Nagpur, Hyderabad, Visakhapatnam, a little in Vijayawada, Bangalore, Mysore. That's all. When I say that's all, it means that's all. Why? Yes, I know all over the country there are computer literacy training centers available by my government initiative, by some state government's initiative. India is waiting to explode, but the IT profile is skewed. Why? That question has been troubling me. And I have asked my department to finalize a policy of BPOs in small mufassil towns of India. I am very clear about it. If in my scheme of things, I would love to see a BPO in Firozabad, in Etawah, in Gorakhpur, in Balia, in Samastipur, in Sitamarhi, in Muzaffarpur, in Murshidabad, in Aurangabad. Why not? Whenever I go to these places of Bangalore or Gurgaon or other places, I see people from my state of Bihar there, of UP there. They're trained. But a BPO is not an operation simpliciter. A BPO is a statement of intent, of empowerment, of digital growth. And once a BPO opens in these areas, a lot of allied activities would come as a consequence, from digital literacy to a lot of other things. We are finalizing that scheme with due incentives. That is one area where we need to work together in a very substantial way. And last is e-commerce. I know the rural market is waiting to explode. enormously. That market has not yet been tapped. It has immense potential for employment, for expansion, and for growth. You just need a warehouse. And I always say, whenever I travel in various parts of the country, I have a habit of reading signs and the graffiti. Two things always impress me. English medium school, even though English may have been written wrongly, but that is there. Second is ladies' beauty parlor. I was trying to understand why this. I saw a quest for empowerment. घर की बेटी शादी में दुल्हन अच्छे से बन के जाना चाहिए. That was the message. They knew if they have to survive, they should be good in Hindi or Tamil or Telugu or Malayalam, but they must know chalne wali English. This is an indication of an aspirational society. And let me talk something in civilizational terms. The Hindu rate of growth has always troubled me. Professor Raj Krishna mentioned we Indians can never grow beyond 3%. And from there emerged the Hindu concept of growth. This whole mindset was completely contrary to the legacy of India. And research by the GATT and other eminent bodies have always held that China and India have ruled world trade, international commercial discourse for the last thousands of years. They lost out in the wake of imperial control of India. But the legacy never goes. The DNA never subsides. And therefore, once an enabling atmosphere of digitization, internet, mobile phone became available, the aspirational DNA has come to overtake India. And therefore I say, 10 lakh people hitting on a simple photograph of mine with Anamika was a statement of intent of Indians. And this internet, digital connectivity, e-education, e-health, e-commerce is basically the larger architecture to promote that embodiment of aspiration of India. Are you willing to work with that larger cause which my government is committed about? I know there are problems. Speed is a problem. Energy is a problem. But if there is a problem, you can't always work. Let me conclude. I have some other engagements also. Let me conclude by a very famous experience of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. One of our greatest leaders and prime ministers we have seen. It is a very extraordinary experience. He had gone to Malaysia. He was sitting in the balcony of his hotel sipping tea. And suddenly he called two of his senior ministers and asked him in his inimitable style, Hindustan Azad kab hua tha? And they were taken aback. At 8 o'clock in the morning, their prime minister asking him a general knowledge question. They said, 1947. Malaysia Azad kab hua tha? तो ऐसी सड़कें हिंदुस्तान में क्यों नहीं बन सकती? And from there came the concept of National Highway Network. And day before yesterday, I was in Kanyakumari, and I became pleasantly very happy to find the location where the Kashmir to Kanyakumari National Highway ends. I had a function there. Just think of the idea that you start your car from the southernmost tip of India, and without any left-right you reach Kashmir. 4-lane highway. That became a reality. I remember there was a group of ministers meeting with officers on this whole issue. A lot of problems were shared. Jameen kaise aayegi? Problem hai. Bada program hai. Atalji kept on sitting and suddenly he said, Karna hai. This is history. Friends, let me conclude today. Digital India karna hai. We have to work together. It's a game-changer exercise. I know there will be a problem, but there is a commitment of our government. And in that large horizon of commitment, I seek cooperation of all of you. We have to work together, march together. Thanks a lot. Namaskar.
Well, thank you very much, sir, in fact, for broadening our horizons. And on that note, I'd like to request our honorable dignitaries to please come together for the unveiling of the IAMAI BCG report on India, a Digital Bharat. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause as we unveil to all of you the report on India, a Digital Bharat. Some of the reports are also available at the registration desk, and the members of the audience can also contact IAMAI team post the summit for the reports. Well, ladies and gentlemen, after that very enriching speech from our Honourable Minister, on that note, I'd now like to invite Ms. Keetika Reddy, Vice Chairperson IAMAI and Managing Director Facebook India, to also present the closing remarks. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Ms. Keetika Reddy.
Honourable Minister, we are inspired. We are inspired by the vision, the direction and the steps your ministry and the new government has taken towards Digital India. Your story, the story that you started with of the aspiring young girl that you met in Kochi, and the chord that is stuck with the nation really resonates with us, as does all of the stories that you have narrated in your session today. We have heard of big numbers. We have heard of 500 million people using the internet right here in India, of a 10 lakh crore economy, 5% of the GDP. At IAMAI, we are certainly committed with our member companies. We are deeply committed to this vision, and we promise to think bigger, to execute faster, and to better partner with you to realize this vision. I hope for all of us in this audience, you take the time to internalize what this really means. I hope the time you take the time to internalize what it means for community, for businesses, for all of our growth aspirations, and for how every single aspect of our businesses work. This is an industry shift, and it's going to change every single thing. It's going to change how product research is done. It's going to change design, it's going to change supply chain, it's going to change marketing, it's going to change HR, it is going to touch every single function. I hope you take the time over the next 2 days to really interact with this community, to move the agenda forward, to move the vision forward, because the time and the opportunity is here and now. Thank you again, Honourable Minister, for your time today and for setting the agenda for the year and for the future. Thank you.